Recently there have been quite a number of corporate collapses reported in the news. We've had Carillion, Thomas Cook, BHS, and those do attract a large amount of press attention. From the public's point of view, they will say, what on earth happened there? But from a regulator's point of view, that question isn't rhetorical. They do want to know what happened there and whether there was any form of corporate governance issues which caused the collapse to happen. The spotlight then naturally falls on the board of that company, and especially on the financial director or chief financial officer, because that person holds the purse strings. All board directors have duties under the Companies Act, a breach of which may attract civil liability. However, for the financial director, CFO, they are likely to be a chartered accountant, so will be regulated by one of the accountancy bodies, for example ICAW, ICAS, ACCA, or another one. They may also be, depending upon the sector, an FCA senior manager. So if something does go wrong, the regulatory scrutiny could be quite significant. You could have a number of different regulators looking at the corporate collapse in question. The FD or CFO on the board often has even greater ethical responsibilities than their fellow board members. As they are a chartered accountant, probably, or they may be an FCA senior manager, they will have to act with integrity, and that is set out under their regulators' codes. Integrity can be quite difficult to define. There has been case law in the last couple of years which does seek to define it, but it's still a nebulous concept, as it's said in that case law. One example might be when a financial director sits down with an auditor during the course of an audit of a company's accounts. The auditor asks for a very specific piece of information and names it very specifically. The financial director knows what the auditor is looking for, but perhaps doesn't want to provide that information, so instead provides the information which the auditor specifically and literally asked for. Now that's not dishonest because he or she has provided that information, but it could be deemed to lack integrity because a financial director knew what information the auditor was looking for and opted not to provide that information. There may be many times in a financial director's career where they feel that they're making decisions which could be quite close to the line. Part of that job is to exercise judgment, and these judgments can be very difficult. If an FD feels that they are acting in a way which they are slightly uncomfortable with, they should always take advice, because if they are ultimately investigated by a regulator, even explaining that that advice was taken will really assist them. Secondly, we would always advise to make sure that everything is written down contemporaneously. The old adage of, if it's not written down, it didn't happen, really does ring true in a regulatory investigation. Similarly, if a discussion takes place, follow that up by email. If an email search then is carried out, that information will all be available to the regulator. Finally, if an FD does feel uncomfortable in any way, they must seek advice from a colleague, from a lawyer, from somebody in a similar position, because that may well deflect a regulator's investigation in the future, because being subject to such an investigation can be very uncomfortable.